So today, Kasoma Faruk of Uganda is going to dig deep into the Indian Ocean. Into the Indian what? Ocean. Where we are going to discuss the key factors that influenced the rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazism in Germany. So we are saying Nazism was a dictatorial political movement or ideology in Germany that was established by Adolf Hitler under the Nazi Party after the collapse of the Weimar Republic. We are saying this political movement led Germany between 1933 and 1945 when Hitler and his Nazi Party controlled the country. So we believe by this time, the years 1933 to 1945, we see Nazism in a country called what? Germany. So we are challenging minds. What were the factors for the rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazism to power in Germany? Number one, the negative effects of World War I. So we believe by this time, the negative effects of World War I. For example, World War I led to the blaming of Germany for causing World War I. You remember in the War Guilty Clause, it disarmed only one country called Germany, blaming it for causing World War I. So by this time, Adolf Hitler used the negative effects of World War I to campaign for himself. He convinced the people that if you support me today, I'll turn against the Versailles Peace Treaty of 1919. So the negative effects of World War I influenced the rise of Adolf Hitler. Then the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic, which was established after World War I, failed to solve the problems of the time, like unemployment, poverty. And by this time, Hitler came up and preached to the people that you support only one man, Adolf Hitler, and it's Hitler who is going to solve all of your what? Problems. So the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic, which even signed the Versailles Peace Treaty of 1919 and accepted what the diplomats said in the Versailles Peace Treaty of 1919. So we are saying Hitler capitalized on the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic to campaign for him what? For himself. That's why the Germans had to choose him. Another key aspect, the fear or threat of communism. It is said by this time the capitalists who had the money feared communism to rise up in a country called Germany. So by this time we believe that because communism meant that all of properties had to belong to the government, and the government had to look after people. So the capitalists who had the money feared the communism. So by this time they supported Hitler's Nazism, hoping that Nazism was not going to be like communism. Because in a communist state, all of properties belong to the government, and the government has to look after what? People. So the capitalists who had the money had to support Nazism, hoping that Nazism was not going to make them to lose their properties. Another one, the economic problems in Germany, 1929 to 1935. I can tell you, in Germany there were high levels of unemployment, high levels of poverty. And because of the economic problems in Germany, Hitler convinced the people that he was the only man who was going to solve all of the economic problems. It is this that made the Germans to support him, hoping that he was going to solve the economic problems. Then the role of the Nazi stormtroopers We believe by this time, the Nazi stormtroopers, this was a group of Hitler's youth who threatened the people that if you don't support Nazism today, we are going to kill you. It is this that made people to support the Nazi, hoping that then without supporting the Nazi, they were going to be killed. So by this time, it was because of the Nazi stormtroopers that people were threatened and they had to support a man called Adolf Hitler. Then, the influence of the Nazi propaganda. It is said the influence of the Nazi propaganda. The Nazi uses so many words to convince people that you are supposed to support only Nazism to solve all your problems. So the Nazi propaganda uses so many words to convince the Germans. The Germans were convinced because of the Nazi word propaganda. Use of so many words to convince. So by this time, the Nazi propaganda made many Germans to support the rise of Adolf Hitler, because the Nazi preached that it was only Nazism which was going to solve all of your problems. Then Hitler's writings. We are saying today, Hitler wrote great books, for example, Mein Kampf, which meant my struggle. In this book, he outlined his plans of helping Germany move from one level to another level. So by this time, those who read Hitler's writings were willing to support Adolf Hitler, because in this game, they realized that Hitler, he was the only man who was going to solve all of their problems. So in his writings, he preached that he was going to raise Germany from one level to another level. And this led to his rise to power. Then the popularity of the Nazi ideology. It is said the Nazi as an ideology was so popular in the minds of people because they came up with the 25-point program, which advocated for nationalism, elimination of the Jews, territorial expansion. And by this time, the popularity of the Nazi ideology influenced the rise of Adolf Hitler because of their 25-point program of raising Germany from one level to another level. It is this that influenced the rise of Adolf Hitler. Then Hitler's special personality and oratory power. It is said he was gifted with language and oratory skills, which captured the attention of many Germans. I can tell you Hitler could shout like thunder to make his point heard. And by this time, people had to support him because of his personality and oratory power. He could talk and convince, and this influenced his rise to power. Then the support of the army. At a time when he needed a lot of support, the army sided with him. When the army supported Adolf Hitler, it is this that influenced his rise to what? To power. Because when the army supported him, even other groups of people had to support him. They were saying, as the army is supporting Hitler, even us we need to support Hitler. Then the weakness of his opponents. We believe by this time, the weakness of Hitler's opponents, where I can say the opponents of Hitler, like the socialists, were very weak. The communists were very weak. And this gave Hitler an upper hand to rise to what? To power. Then another point, the support from the press in Germany. Newsmen wrote ideas and promoted a man called Adolf Hitler by writing about his book. is a 25-point program. And by this time, this made many people to support Adolf Hitler. Then Hitler's negative attitude towards the Jews. We believe by this time, Hitler's negative attitude towards the what? The Jews. Because the Jews betrayed Germany in World War I. Yes. So he had a negative attitude towards the Jews. It is this that influenced the rise of Adolf Hitler. Because by this time, when he was against the Jews, people supported him. Then the weakness of the League of Nations. The League, which was formed in 1920, was very weak. And Hitler capitalized on the weakness of the League of Nations to campaign for him what? For himself. Because by this time, Hitler convinced the people that the League was very weak and he was going to rise to power without anyone stopping him. That's why Hitler, as a dictator, rose to power. Then the rise of Benito Mussolini. The rise of Benito Mussolini rose up in Italy in 1922. When Mussolini rose up and he came after Emmanuel III. It is this